Hello, Kitsap County. I'm Ed Wolfe, your Central Kitsap County Commissioner. I'm happy to be here today. With me, I have Chief Oliver from Central Kitsap Fire and Rescue, and I'm just hanging around with the Chief.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Are you going to rescue me today?
It appears that you have a problem. Can we help you?
You can help me, and your men can help me.
All right, crew, let's go ahead and rescue the Commissioner.
I feel safe.
Good.
Today, I'm in love with Central Kitsap Fire and Rescue, and will continue to be in love with what they do, certainly till I get to the bottom. And then we'll have a conversation with Chief Oliver. Doing good, everything's good. All right. That was fun. Be right back, folks. Don't go away, more to come. Welcome back, Kitsap County. I'm still Ed Wolfe, your Kitsap County Central Commissioner. I'm happy to be here today. I'm actually very safe, as you can see from the training wall, the Station 41, I believe, training wall, fire training wall. I'm here, and I have with me today very special guests. I have Chief Oliver. Chief, nice to see you here.
I see.
And I know that before we get into our discussion, I think it's a very timely discussion. I would like to let the public know that today my objective is to talk about the functions of CK Fire District and Rescue, not just fire trucks, certainly medical and other safety precautions. I want to talk about funding. How do you get your money? How do you run this? And finally, I want to talk about wildfires. I'll ask you some questions. What's going on? Where are we now? Where do you think we're going? That's going to be the day, okay?
Look forward to it.
So let me start, and just by asking you, there are many different functions, but I understand from statistics that I reviewed before this interview that in 2020, you had about 8,800 calls, 8,800. And if I do the math, that's about 24 a day. Is that right?
That is correct.
Can you elaborate on that? And are they increasing the calls or decreasing? Please.
So our calls actually statistically are increasing dramatically. In 2014, or since 2015, excuse me, our call volume has increased 24%.
Wow.
And much due to the growth of the Central Kitsap area and the population expansion and the hospital, but we are running more and more calls. Today, we're actually 400 calls ahead of where we were in 2019.
Wow.
Why do I measure 2019? It's because 2020 was the pandemic year, so we really kind of look past that. But
are most of those calls medical, fire, or the increase?
64% of our calls that we run are EMS related or medical calls.
Okay. Busy time, certainly busier than it has been. So you operate CK Fire District and other fire districts, not just big fire trucks putting out fires, and not just medical fire rescue, EMT rescue. What else do you do?
Well, I think that's what this little evolution that we just went through with saving our commissioner is. Today's fire service is really
Thank you for saving me, by the way.
Well, you're welcome. We aim for good customer service.
Yeah.
Today's
and by the
fire
way, there's
service,
a heck of a backup crew over there. I hope you get a shot of the backup crew, because they did all the work. But go ahead, please.
They are proud members and highly professional. Today's fire service is not just fire protection, as you alluded to. We do a multitude of services, from medical, technical rescue, car wreck extrication, public service, fire alarm checks, smoke alarm checks, public education. So we are really a multi-dimensional public service, not just a traditional fire protection services.
Are all of the fire districts in Kitsap County similar to what CK does, Central Kitsap does, in terms of all of the functionality or the functions of the fire district?
Well, being a proud resident of Central Kitsap,
Of course.
I would like to say our agency's the best,
Okay.
but they are all reflective of the same service delivery. All of fire agencies in Kitsap County are multi-jurisdictional.
I'd like to
multi-services.
remind you that Saturday is the annual Fire Commissioners and Fire Chiefs picnic.
It is.
So you may hear about what you just said.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, and again, as we were just talking off camera, in my 37 years, this is the 9th public agency that I've worked for in my career, and I have to say this is by far the best in proficiency, efficiency, good stewards of taxpayers' dollar. I'm proud to be a member of Central Kitsap Fire and Rescue.
Good stewards is an understatement of Kitsap County dollars. In fact, we're even protecting, I believe, you talked to me earlier, that we have a crew, you have a crew, the fire district has a crew in Oregon now. Is that correct, for fires?
Correct. So as you see in today's news, even tonight's news, wildfire propagation is the leading topic. And although we don't particularly enter into our fire season until the end of August or September, we share resources and help our other socially or our other citizens
Okay.
in their time of need.
Okay.
So currently we have a brush rig in Bend, Oregon.
What's a brush rig?
So that's a 4-wheel drive small engine. So if you just think of a traditional fire engine, this is 1/6 of the size of a traditional fire engine. Allows it to go down driveways,
Okay.
get into tighter spots.
Thank you, Chief. In terms of protecting Kitsap County, it's wonderful that we're helping out other communities or other states. If, God forbid, something happened tomorrow or the next day, would that crew be mobile enough to come back and help you, us?
Yes, so we do make a 14-day commitment for that crew, so it would be hard to recall them. But the way we are structured and staffed is that I have 3 platoons of firefighters in Central Kitsap because we're staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we send off-duty personnel in a reserve apparatus. So it's not a frontline brush rig. We have another brush rig stationed at Station 56 on Seaback Hawley. The water tender that just returned from Spokane last week was an extra water tender that we had in reserve status. So we never send frontline apparatus, ever. It's always reserve apparatus and off-duty personnel.
And I shouldn't make an assumption, but if we had a bad issue here, fire issue here this season, we would have assistance from other states and other jurisdictions.
The state of Washington has a very robust mutual aid program. So if we were to have a problem here, our South Kitsap, our city of Bremerton, Polesville fire districts would come to our need immediately. And vice versa, we would help them out. And that's a very robust and a very deep and complicated system to make sure that all of our citizens are protected. The state of Washington has a very elaborate mobilization system. And if we were to mobilize outside of our local Kitsap County, the state is actually reimbursing the fire district 100% of the costs. So that is what they're on right now. They're on what they call an EMAC, Emergency Managers Access Compact with the state of Oregon.
Thank you, Chief. This is not part of my script, but as we're talking about the functions, can you tell us a little bit about these machines here, these 2 machines here, and what would one of these cost? How many do we have in the fire district? And what does it cost to keep them up?
So this piece of apparatus is really the front line or the most expensive piece of apparatus we have. And this is our 110-foot ladder truck. It cost about $1.1 million brand new.
For one truck?
For one truck. We actually have a reserve. So when this one goes out of service, we put the reserve into play. Our engines cost about $850,000 each. And we also have reserves for those when they go out of service. We have our own fleet services, so we do all of the servicing repair in-house.
You mentioned earlier, did you say 74% of CK's fire calls are EMT type of calls?
64% of our calls are EMS related calls.
EMS.
Of the 24 calls we run every day, we transport about 12 people a day to the hospital in advanced life support medic units just like this.
12 people a day, 20 the entire year?
Approximately 12 transports per day.
Now, are those that are working with the EMT world, in your world, are they all, how are they trained? What is their training?
So we have 2 level of transport units.
Yeah.
The premier, or the top level, the highest level that a citizen can get is advanced life support, and they're staffed with a paramedic and an EMT.
Okay.
We have 3 of those units on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We also have a basic life support unit that's staffed with 2 EMTs.
Okay.
So if you were to fall and break your ankle, you wouldn't need advanced life support. Our basic life support unit would transport you to St. Michael's, St. Anthony's. We go to Harborview, Tacoma General. If you have a cardiac event, a very difficult airway problem, then our advanced life support unit would take you to the hospital.
The origin of a call like that would go through 911?
Yes.
Okay.
All of our calls are dispatched through 911.
Okay. Anything else with regard to functions? The big red beautiful fire truck, the EMT or emergency services truck, anything else you want to talk about functions of the fire department?
So,
Fire district?
you know, again, we believe in being a multi-dimensional public service agency.
Okay.
And we do CPR classes. We help in public education in the schools. So not only are we responsive to the needs, we try to do prevention. We do a lot of public outreach, like tomorrow night, we'll be having a town hall.
Where is that?
And it'll be online. You can access on our Facebook, on our Twitter account, or through our webpage. But tomorrow night we'll have a town hall talking about wildfire and what citizens should do if a wildfire is in their vicinity.
I want to get to wildfires specifically. That's one of the key areas I'd like to talk about. But let's talk a minute about funding. You have Central Kitsap Fire District has a renewal levy coming up, I think in August, sometime in August.
Yes.
First of all, how are you funded and what's a renewal levy?
So the fire district is funded in 3 ways, but predominantly we are funded with a fire levy. The fire levy is permanent, and by law we can only levy a maximum of $1.50 per thousand. Additionally, we fund our transport units and our backup units through an EMS levy. The EMS levy is not
This
permanent.
is emergency
Medical services levy.
Okay.
Specifically only for the transport units and the advanced life support. It expires every 6 years. So every 6 years we have to go back to the voters and ask them to reinstitute and maintain that service level.
Okay.
I would want to note, and it's not commonly known, but our fire levy a couple years ago, the citizens gave us the ability to levy an additional 6% if we needed it. And that would be to inflation, expansion of our area. I'm proud to say that the first 3 years of that, we took 0%. We believe in living within our means, taking great care of the taxpayers' services and their money.
You sound like a politician, not just a fire chief. But you do that, and I say that with a little bit of tongue in cheek because Central Kitsap residents, I'm not talking about North, I'm not talking about South, Central Kitsap residents have been so generous, at least since I've been in this position for the last 7 years, to CK Fire and Rescue, and I believe they've done the right thing.
When I'm in Safeway or I'm in Costco, it's amazing how many people come up to me and recognize me as the fire chief and have a story about how our firefighters treated them in their time of need. And culturally, through our whole organization of the 130 employees, that is really our goal, is to give exemplary customer service as fast as we can and over-deliver to our citizens. And in that turn, our citizens have been very kind and they support us. Generous. But we take that very personally. We never ask for more than we need. We never over ask and under deliver. And we take that very seriously.
So I'm putting words in your mouth, Chief, but you're good stewards of the county's, of the citizens' money. Dollars.
Citizens' money.
Yeah,
Yes.
citizens' money. How can they find out more about this renewal levy that's coming up in August? Where would they go to find that out? Or maybe we can put something on our screen.
So if you go to our webpage, ckfr.org,
Okay.
On the banner, there's a button and you can click on it and it will tell you all about the EMS levy, what it is, how much it costs the average taxpayer, and what it provides.
Okay. I'm going to transition to one of the other functions I wanted to talk to you about for our public, and that has to do with wildfires. You mentioned briefly earlier where we are in the county with regard to safety. Talk to us, if you would, about what can the public do to minimize any risks during what could be a fire season in our county. Not here today, you're going to explain that, but it could very well be in September, I think you said earlier. So how does the public minimize the risk, and where are we in Kitsap County in terms of risk and what to expect?
So again, if you go to our webpage, ckfr.org, we have resources on that webpage that homeowners can use to prepare their property to be wildfire resilient. Simple things like removing brush away from the home, clearing out plastic furniture that you stored underneath your deck for a long time.
This really helped. This really could be helpful.
This really makes a difference.
Okay.
The simple thing of cleaning your gutters will reduce the potential for wildfire to spread from the wildland into your home, and that's a very little known fact.
Sure.
But just simply cleaning your gutters.
Okay.
If you go to our webpage, on our webpage is a whole checklist that a homeowner can do, walk around their home and address a lot of these issues before the wildfire gets there.
Okay. I probably should ask our Kitsap County Fire Marshal this question, but I'll ask you. I think the county, or the Kitsap County Fire Marshal, has recently stated that we will have no fires outside in Kitsap County, even a fire pit. If you have a fire pit around your house, no fires until the rains come.
Correct. So we are in a phase 2 burn ban, which allows no outdoor burning, even recreational burning. I can still issue special permits, which I've done in the past for ceremonies, like for our Native Americans, they'll have a ceremony. But right now we are completely shut down. There are no burning allowed in Kitsap County.
Okay. And that will continue, I believe, until the rains come.
It will continue, and as we alluded to earlier with sending resources down to Oregon, our fire season really doesn't get critical until August or September.
Yeah.
Predominantly on the west side of the Cascades, September and October are our worst months, and that's when the east winds arrive. Right now we have a westerly onshore flow. As you can see by today's weather, we get a little cloud cover. So our fuel moisture is still staying relatively high, and our humidity is staying relatively high, and we have light and variable winds. When that flips over at the end of this summer, in August, September, and October, we get sustained east winds, very low relative humidity, and very low fuel moisture is when fire season really gets critical in Kitsap County. Okay.
Good to know, Chief. Thank you very much. We're going to take a quick break and come back and talk about the bells and whistles to the apparatus that you have here.
Okay.
Be right with you. Welcome back, Kitsap County. Once again, I'm Ed Wolfe, your county commissioner, and with me is Chief Oliver. Welcome back again. This has been a very enjoyable, I think, informative discussion for the entire public, particularly in this wildfire season that we have. So we're standing in front of an emergency medical, what do we call this?
This is a medic unit or a transport.
A medical unit transport. And I know I'm going to embarrass you and date you, but off camera, the chief was telling me, I asked him, did we have these 20, 30 years ago, this type of equipment, which you're going to explain? He said, no, in my old days, we used to use a Ford Galaxy truck.
A station wagon.
Station wagon. So tell us what's in here, and I'm moving around a little. Tell us what's in here and why this is important for our neighbors and for our families and for us.
So as we talked about before, 64% of our calls are medically related. And of the 24 calls that we respond to every day, we transport about 12 people to the hospital every day. These people are transported in these really highly specialized advanced life support transport units.
Do all Central, North, and South, do they all have what we have here?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, I'm proud of Central Kitsap, so I'd have to say ours are better. But these are advanced life support units, and they're literally an emergency room on wheels. When you go to the emergency room for a cardiac event, they give you a 12-lead cardiac exam. We do this right here in the back of the ambulance with a Zoll monitor, and we can send that 12-lead to the hospital so they can examine it, or a cardiologist can look at it. We have ventilators. As the big pandemic was coming through and the shortage of ventilators, every one of our advanced life support units have ventilators where we can breathe for people. For example, we cover 115 square miles. Some of our patients come out of Hawley, Crosby, long distances.
Really?
We can put them on a ventilator and we can actually breathe for them till we get to the hospital.
How long does it take you to get out, for example, to Holly if there's an emergency?
So we have 3 areas in our fire district. We respond within 6, 12, and 20 minutes. And we have about 100% efficiency to respond to all of those frontier areas in 20 minutes. So now we go clear out to Dewato Road, clear out to the Mason County line.
Yeah. Do the different fire districts, do you assist and help with EMT type of services?
Yes, so we have 4 transport units on every day. If they are encumbered on calls, we use the mutual aid system, and the city of Bremerton will come in and help transport. The Polesville Fire District will come in and help transport, and vice versa.
This is much nicer than a Ford Galaxy.
It's a little bit nicer than what I started in 1982.
You're dating yourself.
I know.
So what does this type of apparatus cost?
These cost about $225,000 off the production floor. So they're custom built. These are custom built back east by a Lifeline company.
Okay. How many of these do we have?
We have 4 frontline,
Okay.
and we have 3 reserve units.
Okay.
So if one of those goes in for service or out of service, we'll put a reserve in. But we always have 4 on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
On behalf of the voters, I'd like to thank you and the fire district for what you do in getting people to the hospital and taking care of them before they get to the hospital. Critically important. And that time limit is, I think, impressive. I almost feel like I should ask you that again. Let's talk a bit about, I grew up as a young child, I'll date myself, and I either wanted to be a lawyer or a fireman, because I always had a big red fire truck.
Yeah.
I became a lawyer. Tell us about the big red fire truck that we saw earlier, and you told us, I think that was, what did you say it was?
It was about $1.1 million for that apparatus, and it's 3 years old.
And you have the ladder, and then you have the one that's not the ladder truck.
Yes, well, we have a frontline ladder truck, and then we have a reserve, backup ladder truck. The reserve backup ladder truck is 105 feet. It's a little bit older. We also have a heavy rescue, which was here earlier. They carried all the rope rescue gear. That is the only heavy rescue on the entire peninsula, if not on west of Puget Sound. So we'll respond into Jefferson and Mason County on really severe incidents. Our ladder truck, 110 feet, it has a 500-pound tip load anywhere it can extend, even 6 degrees below grade. So we can actually run it down over a hill and bring a car wreck patient out.
Wow. Then when you have to cut the
we have what they call the jaws of life.
Yeah, the jaws
although we don't use that company, we use Homatro tools. We do have a very extensive accoutrement of hydraulic rescue tools on the ladder truck and on our heavy rescue.
Are there any special points you want to make about the fire truck? You've talked a lot about the ladder, and you've talked about the cost. Are there areas in that truck that are extremely important, that not just the water coming out, not just the hoses, but extremely important for the public should know about?
Well, there is. I started in the 80s where I rolled the tailboard. So I rode outside, hanging on.
What's a tailboard?
It's basically like this, the back of the fire engine.
Okay.
That's where the firefighters rode because there was no enclosed cab.
Okay.
Only the driver and the officer rode inside.
Okay.
I rode on the outside.
Okay.
We have come a long ways in firefighters' health and safety. So now they ride inside, seat belted instead of hanging on like I did. And additionally, a lot of our exhaust have pre-burners, so they burn the exhaust off so they don't get carcinogens in their fire station. They have rollover protection. The computers will take over if they get off kilter or offside or go too fast into a corner.
Okay.
So I guess really what the citizens should know is we are great. We are blessed by the support of our citizens, and they do make our firefighters safer.
It's been a great day, great interview, if we can call this an interview. Thank you, Chief, for being with us.
All right,
Thank you for
Commissioner.
all of your team. I mean,
Yeah.
you couldn't do this. You couldn't do this alone. We know that.
Yeah.
Most of us know that, and we're proud of the whole team and what you do and what you continue to do. And stay safe.
Thank you.
Chief, I failed to ask you a question for the public, and that is, if anyone has an interest in the upcoming levy, fire district levy, how would they find out about this? We'll put a link on the screen, but where would they go on your webpage to find out more information if they have an interest in researching it?
You can go to our webpage, ckfr.org, and right on the front webpage banner is a button you can click, and it will tell you all about the upcoming levy.
Great, great, thank you. It's been a great day for me. I'd like to thank the public for staying with us for this period of time, and I'll just close by saying I'm very proud of all of our fire districts, but extremely proud of CK Fire District and what they do for our entire community. So until next time, I'm Ed Wolfe. See you on my next Commissioner's Corner.
Thank you.